At $200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES. Only on Super NES. You're listening to the SNES Podcast with your host, Soulblazer.
Hello everybody, this is the Super NES Podcast, episode number 210. These are your co-hosts. I am Greg, he is Joe.
Hello.
And this time we're covering a cult favorite for the series. The series and also for the console, the lane of itself. A game I really enjoy. I had to kind of sweet talk Joe into trying the game again, but we'll talk about here in a moment. We're checking out Harvest Moon today, the original Harvest Moon. Super NES is notorious for having a lot of franchises get their start on the series, and this is get their series start on the system. And this is another franchise that got started here. So this is kind of a return to the roots, first game of the franchise kind of like thing here going on here. But anyway, I know that Joe. I say that because I know Joe's not the biggest simulation fan out there, and this is kind of simulation game. I mean, it is for the most part, but there are also some non-sim things doing. There definitely are some non-sim things you're doing in this game as well too. So, this is a game that I did not play when it was new, but I did check out an emulation several years after the fact when I was in grad school, and really just fell in love with it like right away, and then started like playing other games, the franchise at that point, and still play and still enjoy the games that come out to this day anyway, which gets complicated. But the history of this franchise, like, it's messy. We'll talk about it a little bit here, but anyway, so this is really your first time playing this game in depth for the podcast, though, Joe, correct?
This is the first time I am touching the franchise at all.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So actually, it was funny because Inside Baseball, I recorded my podcast, the Radical Retro Roundup, last night with George.
Right.
And, I brought up that I had been playing Harvest Moon for the Super Nintendo. And he's like, oh, like, because he knows as well as you do. He's like, how's that been going? And I was like, I've never really played anything like this. I mean, I have, but like the examples I used was like Age of Empires and like RTS games like StarCraft, because you're gathering resources and whatever else to do what you need to do, which is kind of an oversimplification of what Harvest Moon is. But the closer analogy was I played Animal Crossing for the GameCube. And
that has some DNA with this, sure.
Yeah, so like that, and that was really my first real experience with something like this, and that was actually the game that turned me off from this type of game. So
there are a lot of there are a lot of games that take inspiration from Harvest Moon these days.
So I get why people like them, I really do. That's going to be the undertone of this whole thing, like. My opinion is my opinion, and I'll explain why I just, it doesn't mesh well with me, but also, like, I completely get why people love these games. And it's actually some of the reasons why people love these games. That is the reason I actually don't love this game, so.
This should be interesting then, but, so following up on that, Harvest Moon definitely was Harvest Moon definitely is a groundbreaking game. Like many games and franchises take their ideas, at least part or whole, from the Harvest Moon games. Stardew Valley, maybe one of the best indie games of all time, definitely takes most of its DNA from Harvest Moon and the like. So, but Harvest Moon itself got its ideas pretty much from Harvest Moon itself pretty much got its ideas from another kind of game idea that already was present in Japan at the time, because farm simulation kind of games had already been out at this point. So like many other with many firsts in the video game world, it's often usually have to see you usually can't say that something's truly the first to do this, the first to do that, because there probably was something somewhere along the lines in a computer game for another country 10 years in the past, whatever. I'm just using an example that just kind of the same idea. So it's like obviously inspiration comes from somewhere, but I think it's fair to say this is the first game or series that did this, and this, and did everything well and whatever. So it's kind of like with Hollywood, kind of like with like movies, because like there's not really anything like new as far as like books or movies out there either these days. It's like recognizing that something can do something effectively is still I think just as important as anything that comes first. So it's like that's a long-winded way of saying that Harvest Moon built upon some ideas that already were out there. But this was the first game to really get like mass popular attention for doing the things that it did. So, and this game is pretty much basically a farm simulation. That also has some role playing aspects mixed into it like as well. So, to talk about the development and the franchise just a little bit here before we get going. The game was developed in Japan by a very small company called AMCUS, AMCC US. I could find nothing online about this company. That's how small it was. So they probably did not do very much very much beyond this game. But they had the support of it. But they had the support like the bigger publisher, Pack Video, which was a fairly big Japanese publishing company at the time. With their support, they were able to make the game. So. However, Pack Video eventually merged into the company and went went bankrupt. So that led to the team being downsized and a lot of the game being reprogrammed and a lot of questions as whether the game would even come out in the first place. But it finally did come out in Japan in August '96. The Japanese name of the game, by the way, is known as Farm Story. So. The game got renamed for its Western release, but because of those delays, this was a very late Super NES game. But still, despite the fact of how late it came out, the game did very well in Japan. So Natsume, who was also a pretty small unknown company at the time, they released a few other Super NES games, such as a cult favorite, like Wild Guns, which decided to take a risk and bring the game over to North America. So the game launched in North America in June '97. And then Nintendo decided, as they did with a lot of Super NES titles, to publish the game themselves in Europe, which happened in January of '98. So we're talking late release dates here, folks.
Yeah.
'97. This made Harvest Moon was one of a handful of games to come out that year. It was definitely among the last Super NES games to get officially released in North America, because last release came out in '98. So for that reason, a lot of people didn't see the game because games already moved on the PlayStation and the Saturn and whatnot. So but this being a late Super NES game, it does show, I think, as far as the programming, the graphics like whatnot. So the game did very well in Japan. The game did moderately well here in North America. At least well enough, like not to be interested like Vader's in sequel. So Harvest Moon Game Boy came out the following year, and then after that, Harvest Moon 64 came out a little bit after that, and after that, as the saying goes, the rest is history. So, and for a long time, Harvest Moon games came out pretty regularly for all the consoles, but then several years ago, around 2014, 2015, due to complicated reasons, which I'm not going to explain here in detail on the podcast because it's complicated, but suffice it to say that because the combination of the team, which primarily developed Harvest Moon games, jumping ship and going down the company, and also because of the rights issue, the Harvest Moon series kind of got broken into, Harvest Moon franchise officially got ended and broken into two different franchises. So you have Story of Seasons by one company, which is kind of the new Harvest Moon series. So it keeps a lot of the Harvest Moon ideas and whatnot present in those games. And then also you also have the Rune Factory games, which are also Harvest Moon-ish in some ways. The Rune Factory games differ greatly in that they take place in a fantasy setting, and they also include going dungeon exploring and delving, and also fighting monsters. Which again, Stardew Valley is clearly ideas talking about franchises. Because you do because kind of like if Harvest Moon, Story Seasons and Rune Factory got back together again, a lot of what happened with like Stardew Valley that has in it. So the game's still going around today, and they're still very popular, just like two different franchises. So it's very weird to have a franchise split like this. So but it is what it is. So depending upon what most interesting in Harvest Moon, will influence your decisions which franchise to check out as far as what you're looking for, like in a video game. So the Harvest Moon games, the Harvest Moon game was popular enough in Japan actually to get a Stardew release as well too. We talked about Stardew in the past. I'm not going to go over here too much, but it followed the same kind of format they did like the Zelda games, where it's like you go and play a certain time of the day with like a live voice announcer, offering hints and clues. You play the game, that kind of stuff. So it's like very interesting, like for sure, and to kind of prove how popular the game was like in Japan. So since then the game was re-released in virtual format on the 3DS, the Wii, and the Wii U. All those stores are obviously closed these days, so you can't get the game anymore that way. The game was released last year on the Switch store, but in Japan only. So again, unless you have to, can you even like region lock break the Switch? I don't even know about that. But
so the Switch is region free. So if you were to create a Japanese Nintendo eShop account, you could sign into that and technically get the Nintendo Switch on, the service, and you would be able to access it.
So I don't understand why they didn't bring it over to North America as well too, because it's like maybe a rights issue, because it's like the Harvest Moon series is certainly popular enough these days over here, but because there's factors that the game is not really. But anyway, suffice to say, right now, as 2023, there's no legal way to get the game, unless you actually buy a physical copy of the game, and whoo boy, those are expensive. So we will cover those at the podcast. But this is definitely one of the most pricey Super NES games to own, which is a shame because it's like this is still like a pretty good game, I think. But spoilers. Playing this again recently for the first time in like many years. I think it holds up pretty well today for the most part. But we'll get into that. So as we mentioned, this is basically like a farm simulation role playing game, which is like a very weird thing. It's a weird thing to imagine. I can imagine kids trying to explain to their parents what this game was about. But back in the day, you to buy it for them, because it's like, well, how the hell do you even start? Because there was nothing like this available out there. It's like when you talk about a new franchise, this is literally a new franchise. So it's like I do not envy kids trying to explain this to people back then, because like I was when this game came out, I was already in college. So it's like it wasn't a problem for me, but. Had I actually bought a physical copy of the game, I didn't. But even though I started the Super NES in college, anyway, So it definitely would have been a very unique game for sure. So it's like I think some of the reason the game did so well was because it's like uniqueness. Because we hadn't really seen, at least especially in the West, we hadn't seen anything like it. Like this before. So there's not much of a plot. It's very the story of the game is it's very bare bones. Later Harvest Moon games would go a little bit deeper. It's like setting up a story and situation and whatnot. But in this game, basically, it's like you're a young kid. You don't know how old you are. You're obviously young. The older Harvest Moon games fix this problem by saying you're 16, 18, or whatever. But I think you'd be younger in this game than that. And her grandmother passed away. Your parents decide, for whatever reason, it's a good idea to just dump you off to like that old farm, which has been abandoned, by the way, and have you live out there taking care of the farm by yourself for 2.5 years. And I'm just going like only in Japan.
Right. That's how I kind of saw the story. It was like, grandfather dies, leaves the farm to the kid. The parents don't like their kid very much because maybe maybe he gets into trouble a lot, or whatever, he's on the verge of becoming a criminal, so they drop him off on the farm to kind of teach him a lesson and not have to worry about taking care of him. I had to make my own narrative for this game.
Yeah, because like I said, there's very, very little plot. I mean, the plot of the game is like the pretty much plot of the game is covered like opening sequence, and that's it. So, so anyway, mostly how the game plays at that point is like just doing like farm things. But there are other things doing the game, but the bread and butter gameplay is farm stuff. We're doing things like planting crops, watering them to make sure that they grow. Once they've grown, you have to harvest them, like by picking them up and bringing over to the storage bin and tossing them in. Like they get stored for money, because you need that money to buy, you need that money to be turned to buy new seeds, and also purchase upgrades for your house and for stuff like that. You also as you grow your farm, you also get the ability to also take care of animals. So you can have like cows, chickens. So the cows can produce milk, the chickens can produce eggs, and so you also have to buy like feed. You can buy feed, but growing you're growing your own grass, which you also sow every now and then for the animals' livestock. That is also important. So. And as time passes and you gain more money, you also get the ability to do house upgrades, to give you extra abilities. Your starting tools are very basic to start off with. You have a sickle, a watering crop, a watering cup, basically. You also have a pickaxe and an axe that you use for things like tilling the soil to prepare the crops. You're cutting down trees, breaking up stumps, destroying rocks, that kind of stuff. So, and as time passes, you're also getting the ability to upgrade those tools to make the farm work more easier and productive. You can get a dog fairly early on. The dog doesn't do anything in the game, not really, but he has one useful function in the game. But anyway, you also, you're not taking care of you're not taking care of the farm. You also can go into town, where there's various townspeople in there you can also chat with, talk to. You can also buy things in the shops and whatnot. At nighttime you get nighttime you can also go over, hang out in the bar. It was changed for the Western version of the game, but it's definitely a bar. So there's also church. There's certain time in this game works in the context of seasons. That you have like a spring, summer, fall, and winter, which are just like really long months. So various things can be done each season. There's also certain events and festivals that can take care of. In the winter, obviously, for example, they can't grow crops. You need to refocus your services. Winter's a good time to to go into the woods, to find mushrooms or plants or whatever to grab, to make some money that way. It's also a good time to work on relationships, because you are able to court one of 6 women in the game. I'm sorry, 5 girls. Yeah, in the game. And eventually, if you get one of the if you get a relationship with them high enough, you can, they can marry her. And assuming your house is big enough, she moves in with you, and she helps you out there, and you can also have 2 kids with her eventually too. So, later on in the game, after the first year, you're also getting the ability to gain a horse, which is also which is great because they're great because you can just ride down the horse, ride down the various lines in your crops, quickly harvest the crops, throw them into your setup bag. Boom, done deal. So the horse definitely makes things a lot more quicker and efficient. There's also certain events that hit you every now and then. For example, hurricanes can come in and do a lot of damage. Animals just letting be taken care of on a regular basis. Unless they grow sick and possibly even die. Because you can't just because for cows, example, you can't just milk the cow. You have to you have to talk to the cow, brush the cow, and feed the cow every day. So after the first day, there's there's a great trick in the game where it's like, so time flows in the game, in the sense that this is like a morning, afternoon, and evening. However, in this game, time never really stops in the evening cycle. It's like, the game doesn't go to the game doesn't advance the next day and you actually go to bed. So it's really recommend the first day that you just simply just stay up as long as you, stay up that first day and just basically fix your farm and do all that work in that one day, because you can there's a hot spring nearby they can hop into to regain your stamina. So because you're going to do so much in the game before your stamina runs out and you can't do any more work, we'll just hop in the hot spring, you get recharged, rinse and repeat. So once you get the farm up and running, basically the basic operation most days is a pretty simple rinse and repeat pattern. Where it's like you get up, you eat breakfast, you go out to your farm and take care of the crops, and then be done to them. Then you go into the animal stalls and take care of the animals. Make sure you have everything throw in the hamper. For the sales person to collect at the end of the day. They have time left, go into the woods, go into town, whatever, and then go back home and go to bed. So, and there's a very, to me at least, one of the things I really enjoy, one of the things I really enjoy about this game, and a lot of other people do is sense that once you get the basic work taken care of, this is a very simple game to play in the sense of it's very calming, stress-free, low-paced game. There's no monster to fight, there's no enemies to worry about, there's nothing. You do things. I pretty much do things on your own time schedule. It's it's a very Zen kind of game to play. As you get into it, because it's a very calm and relaxing game. It's certain games you have to be in the mood for, and certain games will help certain moods of yours. For example, blow off steam, play a shooter, whatever. But this is a great de-stress game, and in the sense of long day at work, whatever. You play this for an hour or so, and just calm down very nicely because everything in the game, the music, the graphics, the gameplay, it just screams cuteness. So so it's a very I think games like this are definitely one of the best ways, to de-stress and calm down from everything, because there's no pressure on the game. It's like any pressure on the game you make yourself. So and so eventually, just to wrap things up there real quick, after 2.5 years, you're judged depending upon how well you did. The game's secretly keeping track behind the scenes all this time, about points, happiness values for things like how much money do you have, how many crops did you harvest, are you married, is your wife happy, has left you, that kind of stuff. And there's 15 different. I lost track of how many endings I lost track of how many endings there are on the game. There's a lot. So what ending you see, you see depends upon the game's happiness value at the time the game ends. So that's the game pretty much in a nutshell. In broad strokes. Joe, I already said before what I like about this game a lot, and I know that you said you had your own experience with this. So let's hear what you like and didn't like about this game.
All right. So the exact reason that you like this game is the exact reason I do not like this game. For me, so it's a nice, relaxing game. You get into a routine. The better you do that routine, the more it can help you as far as achieve your goals in the game. And it's keyword relaxing. For me, this form of relaxation is very boring. Again, that's me. And that's why, I preface this whole thing in the beginning. The reason why people love this game is the exact reason why I do not love this game. For me, relaxation is powering up Final Fantasy and just grinding for, however long. I don't need to progress the story. I just need to grind, level up the character. That's it. Here, it's just, oh my God, it's so repetitive. And I feel like because there's no story, it is so pointless to do anything in this game. Obviously, the very little story that's there is there. I do like the idea that you have to court these girls so that you can get married. I also love the fact that you basically stalk them by reading their diary so that you can know what they like and give them exactly what they want. Get 6 hearts and they're going to marry you. But see, this is my thing. Why would you want to get married? Right? In this game, from what I played and whatnot, like, getting married is like enabling hard mode because you have less time to do everything by like 5 p.m. in-game time. Like, you have to be in the house and it's like conversating with your wife, and you continue to give her gifts just like you were when you were courting her. And then obviously based on that, you'll have children and whatever else. And like, that was one of the things that I was like, okay, well, like, I can get behind that. That's cool. Like, that's life. This is a farming simulator with some life aspects in it. I thought some of the things that you have to do for the endings was kind of ridiculous. Especially like for the perfect ending, you have your wife, your 2 kids, your house has been upgraded twice, you have golden tools, you sold massive amounts of crops and everything else. All that doesn't matter unless you picked up your dog 100 times.
Yeah, the ending conditions are very weird. So.
Like, and I get it. Like, sure, like, you have to give your dog attention. Like, that's fine. But, like, you have to pick him up 100 times. Like, that's just crazy. I do like
Which you
that,
probably are going to do in the course of the game, to be fair. It's probably because you are moving the dog from indoors, outdoors, and whatnot. So it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I mean, like, but so I get it. I get it. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of silly.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. But yeah. So the one thing I learned real quick, I actually restarted my game because of this. Your chickens and your cows, don't leave them outside.
Yes.
They will get sick, and then you have to buy medicine, which is really expensive, or they get eaten. So I reset my game, started from the beginning again, and this time I kept all the cows and chickens in the barns and in the stalls, and literally just left them inside, went and did what I had to do, and all that. I had a pretty easy strategy. Again, like I said, relaxation / boring. So in the spring, I was planting turnips and potatoes because they grow pretty quickly, so you can grab more of them. And you eventually can do, in the summer, you get corn and tomatoes. Those take a bit longer to grow, but you're also getting more money out of that. Planting grass to feed the animals, because grass is the most economical way to feed your animals.
Yes.
Buying food is super expensive, much like the medicine. Fishing. I thought fishing was pretty cool. Fishing is really good in like the fall time because you can't really plant everything and harvest it in time in the fall. So fishing is a good way to supplement your monies and be able to move forward. And then winter, like, I get winter, obviously it's the season, so it has to be there, but winter is so pointless. You can't do anything in winter. In winter, I literally focused on brushing the animals, keeping them, even more so than I did in the other 3 seasons. Winter was also when I went to town and really communicated with people, went to the festivals, things of that nature, just because, like, that's the time you can interact with people. What else are you going to do? You can't plant.
When is the best time to work in a relationship with somebody? Yeah,
yes. So, and that goes for after you're married. Like, winter's the best time to have that, interaction with your wife so that babies happen. Getting a horse was kind of nice because,
the horse is a godsend.
yeah, like once you expand out in the game, like being able to load up the horse with crops and get them to the bin is so much better. One of the biggest things that really irked me was the limited inventory space. You were given 2 slots, which gets to be really frustrating in the very beginning, because you're constantly going to the tool shed and constantly swapping out stuff based on what you're doing. That being said, I mean, the fact that you can upgrade all your tools to gold and then they work even more efficiently is fantastic. There's at least progression there. And I did feel like, okay, well, as much as this has been repetitive and boring in my case, there's at least progression. Not much, but there's at least some progression. Biggest issue for me, and you may agree or may not, there's no New Game Plus. After the 2.5, 3 years, whatever it is, like, that's it. That's the game. If you want to play again, you're starting from square one all over again. I feel like there should have at least been a New Game Plus. Not so much like, all right, well, here's, square one. But like, hey, you can keep your golden tools. You know what I mean? Like, you can keep your upgraded house.
Yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. None of the Harvest Moon games, though, have ever done that. So
Okay.
it's like just not a concept that they really.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely understand like where you're coming from, and I will say that I will say I think a lot of your complaints are valid, and a lot of your complaints are things they addressed in later games. Because again, this being the first game in the franchise,
right.
It's like the most limited. It's like if you were to play Harvest Moon 64 or Harvest Moon like PlayStation, for example, they're much bigger games. Like the map's a lot bigger. They're bigger. There's more option to do. You have a lot more, a lot more things available to you. They're just all, they're just overall a bigger game. It's like they took the idea that they established upon the Super NES game and expanded upon it. And some of the concepts and things and things that you were grousing about, rightly so, I think, were addressed in later games.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this later on, but it's like, if you've not played a Harvest Moon game, I can't recommend starting with this one because I love it because of the limitations that this game does have. I think like a good entry. So I think like the N64 or the PlayStation games may be a better entry point for you in the series. Because the games are much more bigger and the bigger have more options. That said. So I definitely understand what you're coming from there, as far as limitations be. I definitely felt some of it too. That said, for me, another thing I really enjoyed about the game, and the main appeal of the game, there's 3 appeals to the game for me. One's unique. Like, it's a very unique game. Mm-hmm. So anything unique, I'm going to gravitate to. 2, there's the whole relaxing Zen-like game. 3. There's a real sense of building order from chaos in this game because it's like the farm is so destroyed at the beginning of the game. When you spend that time that first day doing all the work and getting your farm cleaned up nice and orderly, cleaned up and nice and functional, there's a real sense of pride and accomplishment to having done all that.
Yeah.
And once you start planting crops and the crops come in and whatnot, it's it's like taking it it's like the same kind of thing like Fallout 4, where we're building settlements because those are trash at the beginning of the game. There's a real sense of accomplishment in that game, cleaning up the sediments and getting rid of all the skeletons and the wood and story buildings and whatnot, and making it making it look nice and clean. It's the same thing here. There's a real pleasure in looking at your work and saying, well done. This was a mess before, and now it looks that looks great. The game adheres to our human qualities to want to improve upon things and build order from chaos.
Yeah.
In a very fun, interesting way.
So one of the because as much as I've dogged this game and said what I don't like about it, there are some bright spots. And I think we're naturally transitioning into this anyway, so I'll just start it off and bring it up. I love the graphical style of this game.
Yeah, the graphics are great. They're very cute.
This feels like it runs off like, I mean, I know it doesn't, but it feels like it runs off the Zelda Link to the Past engine.
One of the benefits of being such a late Super NES game.
Yeah. So the game looks fantastic. The rain effect looks great. Your foot tracks stay in the snow.
Yes.
And yeah, I know Chrono Trigger did that first, and they did it better or whatever. But like, it's still pretty cool to see here, and it's like little things like that. Were like the bright spots as far as
I really love the little animations that your guy does as he goes through the day. It's like breakfast, for example. Like every day starts with them sitting at the table, taking this. I guess it's like I'm not sure what he's eating. I guess like a big roll.
Yeah.
And he's like shoving it into his mouth like one gulp.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, it's great. So, and then also like lunchtime, he's literally working in the field. He stops, takes a sandwich out of his pocket, stuffs in his mouth, and goes back to work again. Like 5 seconds later. It's great. So, also the animations. The animation also play a big role in tipping you off as to how tired you're getting, because it's like at a certain point, he'll stop and wipe his brow.
Yeah.
It's like another point he'll almost faint, and then eventually you get to the point where you try to make him work again. He does faint.
Yeah.
So it's like, those animations are so endearing.
Yeah. So the other highlight of this game as well is the music. I think
very calming, very zen.
Yeah.
Adding to the experience.
And I like it. Yeah. Like it's there's 6 tracks that you get. Yeah. You get 4 for each season. So I love that each season is different. You get 1 for like the town area, and then also when you're at the festivals, there's a different music track. And I didn't really have any that were like stand out my favorite. And I did feel that like the looping of those tracks at some point, especially later in the game, like it does kind of get kind of
another
annoying.
limitation for being a Super NES. Yep.
But it's not anything game breaking or anything like that. Like I said, I enjoy the music, so it maybe repeats itself a little too much. Whatever, like it's not the worst thing in the world. The sound effects are on point.
Yes.
I love that when I take my axe out and I hit I put in my notes a tree, but let's be fair, most of the times they're stumps. Yeah. When you take your axe and you hit the stump, it actually sounds like an axe hitting the stump. Oh God, it's so satisfying. And then also, when you're using the pickaxe to, churn the dirt for planting, same sort of sound. Like it sounds kind of like the axe hitting the wood, but obviously it's not wood, so it's got like more of like a thump into the ground. If you take an actual hammer in real life and you slam it into like a patch of grass and dirt, that thump that it makes is exactly what they captured here in this game, and I applaud them for it.
Yeah, the sound music design in this game is it's very great. It's definitely part and parcel like the whole farm simulation experience. So, and yeah, the music is very limiting. Again, the later games have a deeper soundtrack. So, but yeah, I definitely agree with you. Like what's here, it's definitely great. Being able to save anytime you want to also is very nice. So you are able to save at certain points, and the game also saves for you like at the end of the day. So it's like, because if you have bad luck with the weather forecast, for example, you can just reload the save and try it again.
Right.
So so there's there's a little bit of use that you can do with the game. So it's limited. So not full save whenever you want saving. I probably shouldn't say it that way, but just but you are able to save on a regular basis, which really helps as far as things go. Because if something goes wrong, then you're fine. So, but anyway, so So this game was local. This game was changed quite a bit for its Western release, for reasons. So, I already mentioned the big one. Nintendo strictly had Nintendo at the time. Strictly had a no alcohol policy in their game. So it's like, all the references to alcohol in this game, for example, like changed to juice. Even though obviously anybody who drinks the juice gets drunk.
Yeah.
So, there's also, I'm curious to know if you picked up any of these, Joe. There's a lot of Japanese cultural references that this game also makes that were left in because either translators didn't realize it or didn't realize it, like, or didn't care about it.
Right.
Because, for example, the church here is not really a Christian church. It's more like a Shinto Shinto church.
Right.
Because, like, they talk about they talk about like various gods, like the god of the harvest, god of this business, whatever. That's definitely a Shinto thing. So, so like religion in this game is more Shinto as far as that goes. In the New Day, during the New Day fair, for example, your character is eating like I believe it's pronounced like onigiri, which is a traditional Japanese food item. And the news anchor on the TV, it's like turn the TV on, look at the news and the weather forecast. He bows to the audience when he starts the broadcast. So that's a very Japanese thing. So it's like I'm fine with those things being changed because not being changed because that would require a major rework of the game. But they are very for sure they are very interesting books. So. And so, actually, most of the plot in this game is, like I said before, most of the plot of the game is what you derive from it. The characters, I do give the town people credit though. There is actually backstory and character development for some of the characters in the game at least, especially like 5 girls. Especially the 5 girls that you can romance. So it's like you do learn a bit more about them and the town itself as you progress that. So I thought that was a nice touch. It does help add to the bare bones plot and the immersion of the game. The game offers to you. So, and this is a fairly long game too. Even if you rush through the days and just do the bare minimum. This is still like a very, very long game to get through.
Yeah.
I think 40, 60 hours to get the whole game is like on par, which is like RPG quality length.
Yeah.
So you're definitely getting your money's worth out of this game. So let's see here. The game, as I mentioned before, the game did do well. Natsumi said the game sold an average amount of games for its time, so take that as you will. But the reviews of the game when it came out, were pretty positive. Like EGM, for example, gave like 8.25 out of 10. So, 8.125. That's a weird scoring system.
Yeah.
Like out of 10. So, most reviews of the game look pretty good. Complex 118 ranked the game at 7th best Super NES game of all time. IGN put it at 48. 46. So, IGN also rated the game several years ago when it came out in emulation and gave it 8.5. So, these are like very positive reviews.
Yeah.
And the average game rating score for this game, even still today, is 73%. So, this is, as I said before, this is still like a very like beloved game, and I can see why. Having said that, like I said before, I'm a big fan of the Harvest Moon series, but like I said before, I think that because of the limitations that this game has, this is not really the best place to start if you're if you're a newcomer to the series, because I think the limitations they're fine, and this is and don't get me wrong, I still think this is a fun game to play today, but I think that the N64 and PlayStation games at least offer so much more in terms of like playability and concepts and whatnot. They also like for example, they fixed the limited inventory space that you were complaining about earlier, Joe.
Yeah.
Those games, because the more stuff that they offer, I think are a great place to start at. If you don't want to go into a modern story seasons game and go back to Harvest Moon games, I think those games are much better to play at. But the PlayStation 1 at least easier to get because that one's available because that one's available like through available through emulation, like by the Sony store. The N64 game has never been released either, which is like the N64 game is even more expensive to copy these days than the Super NES one is, because the prices are insane. I really wish I hadn't sold my copy of the game back in the day. But but anyway, sorry. So that's my overall summary of the game. I think this is definitely like a very fun game. It was great back then. I still think I still think it's fun to play today. I can't recommend this as being the starting point of any of these franchise, unless you would have experience with the Harvest Moon games like in themselves. But the game itself is still like perfectly fine to play today. It's also interesting to see how many other games took ideas and concepts from these games. The Harvest Moon franchise has definitely been inspirational from many other games. Stardew Valley, for example, as I mentioned before, takes the best of both franchises. Just because Stardew Valley, you can do almost anything. You can do anything. You can farm. You can mine. You can also go in dungeons and get resources and fight enemies. It really does. Without Harvest Moon game, there would be no Stardew Valley. There wouldn't be no Porsche games. There would be nothing else around these days. Which is very popular. Stardew Valley I mentioned because that is the most independent. I've read reports indicating that the game has sold the best out of any independently funded and released game on Steam. Period. So, and the game's available in a lot of available on a lot of other formats besides just Steam. So, I know you're not the biggest fan of this idea, Joe, but I think Stardew Valley offers so much more and offers so many other different things to it that the game may be worth a shot to check out, because like I said, there's so many things you can do in that game besides just farm.
Yeah.
So Stardew Valley is a lot of fun. I still play Stardew Valley on and off myself these days, and Stardew Valley also takes care of the problem that you. Stardew Valley also takes care of the problem. Also takes care of the problem. The problem that you said earlier, Joe. It's a very long game. There is a way to end the game per story requirements, but if you don't want to end the game, you don't have to. There's no rush on you to do that. Yeah. So in theory, the game's infinite. So this and plus Stardew Valley is super cheap these days anyway. So so it's fun to go back to roots every now and then to a game like this that that inspired so many other games and so many other franchises from this, and let's take a good modern look at the game and be like, okay, this is still, what made this game great? Is this game still fun to play today? That kind of stuff. Right. It's so it's definitely fun to go back to it, revisit it. So, I think the game, like I said before, I think the game's still fine today for what it is. Not the best game in the franchise, but not the worst either. So again, because Joe and I obviously want different things our video games. You enjoy so if you're the kind of person who enjoys enjoys a very calm, relaxing, non-violent, play at your own pace game where you're being more out of chaos. Games like this are definitely up your alley. So and that's also what I was saying, Joe. Stardew Valley, at least in that game, you're able to go into dungeons to whack monsters to take some aggression out on. So yeah. But anyway, so I fully understand where you're coming from as far as your mindset on this, Joe. Like I said, I think it just depends upon what kind of gamer you are and what you're looking for your games.
Yeah, and I most certainly wouldn't discourage anybody from not checking this game out. I would recommend, much like you did, later entries in the series, especially from what I saw. Harvest Moon 64 is very popular.
Yes, it is. That was a good game.
And with the ratings I saw for it and everything else, and I did watch some gameplay, I definitely see that as the superior version for sure. But also, I think at least a little bit of gameplay on this version here, especially if you're one of those people who like video game history. and it's always interesting to see where a franchise started and then see how it evolves. We were talking off mic about the new Mortal Kombat game, and it's like, the evolution of Mortal Kombat is crazy. Like, some of the stuff that they've done, you would think would have killed the franchise. They went from, side by side 2D fighting to then, Mortal Kombat 4, where it was fully 3D, and it was like trying to be like Tekken, where an amalgamation of like Tekken and Virtual Fighter, where like you can move around the arena and everything else. And it's like, and then they kind of shifted away from that and kind of went like 2.5 with like Deadly Alliance and everything else that was on like the PS2, GameCube, and stuff like that. And then you have the current one where it's back to, side by side 2D kind of fighting, but now like the environments are interactive and there's more combo systems and everything else. So I mean, it's to be able to see the beginning of the franchise here. I noticed the difference when I saw the videos for Harvest Moon 64. Like, I noticed the differences right away, and I was like, wow, like, that's, at least, a step forward in making the franchise, have something that's going to give it some legs to stick around. And clearly it has. It does resonate with people, and, I love that there are people that love games like this because, like, everybody's different. You might enjoy relaxing, by planting some crops and harvesting them and whatever else. I harvest carcasses. That's my relaxation. So, maybe not quite like something like Diablo, where like I have to think about what I'm doing as I'm, building up those carcasses. But like I said, Final Fantasy, even like Final Fantasy 15, just to pop on for a little bit, farm, level up a character, like that's all I need. And that's, for me, that's a relaxation. And that's what's great about video games, is that they're made for everybody and anybody, and there's something for everybody and anybody.
Yes. Yep, exactly. Also, the first PlayStation game, Back to Nature, is also like a very popular game still these days, because that's also, because N64 was only available on the N64, which not everybody had. So that's kind of like so Back to Nature is kind of like a greatly modified version of that game for PlayStation. Yeah. So I was something that changes that to changes I made to the game, like whatnot. So also trivia fact: the picture. The box cover art for the North American box art for this game is a weird combination of like a real picture with like character cartoons and images they superimposed on top of it. So not many Super NES covers use real pictures. So the Infinite Axelate is another right to mind for having like a combination of like a real picture versus like graphic on top of it. So it's interesting for sure. So, there are a number of cheats and codes you can do with this game. So we'll talk about those real quick. One of the most handy things you can do in this game is the cheat code. In case you're wondering what your current ending would like to be, there's a code you can use to put in, when you so when you go to bed every day, that to prompt the game to show you the ending sequence you would get if you ended the game right now. So
okay, that's cool.
Yes, you're curious to see how am I doing overall? You just pop that code in and just see okay, so I ended right now. I get this ending. So it's good. So some glitches in this game are some of them are helpful. Some of them are just more curiosities. You're able to pick your baby's gender, for example. You're able to count. So one of the girls that you can court to marry, Nina, you're able to court as much as you want, like one night using a glitch. So your dog can get stuck if you don't do things correctly, like the upgrades. So and there's also like 3 secret items that you can get in the game, but you have to but you have to do very specific things to be able to get them. So there's the there's a clock, a money tree, and a money tree, like the magic bean, the secret items in the game. So, and those probably not going to be found by anybody in their first time playing the game because it's a very specific thing you have to do to get them. But they are cool that they're there. So
yeah, nowadays, I mean, you could take a quick look at a strategy guide, and you could do it on your first playthrough. But yeah, I get it. Like, if you're just going through the game, like I didn't know any of those secrets. I didn't look anything up on this game. Nothing. I just started the emulator and played it. So. I could definitely see, some people who like to look at guides and whatnot would probably be able to find those on the first playthrough. But yeah, generally secrets like that, you're just not going to find.
Yeah. And some of the things really not that hard to get, to be fair. You just have to, the knowledge is power and knowing how to do them. For example, to do the clock, you have to get the first, you have to get the first house extension before the first summer ends. To be able to be at that. For the money tree, you have to have $20,000 in money. And then the hawker will come in the fall and offer to you. And the magic bean, you have to sell a cow. And there's a chance. There's a chance that the hawker comes to buy your cow. He'll offer a bean in exchange for the cow instead. So
just like Jack and the Beanstalk, very nice.
Yep. So none of those things are difficult to get. They're just, like just the knowledge beforehand that that they're there and how to get them. So, anyway, I mentioned this before, eBay. This is actually not a hard game to find on eBay. There are 20 copies of the game currently currently listed the time you're doing research. 20 copies of the game sold recently. But because, like I said, because there's no current way to play the game legally via emulation because the emulation sources are either shut down or not available in the West. That's kept demand and therefore prices for the cart still very high. And like Joe said, start a popular franchise. Those games are always going to do well. Yeah. So. There are repos available this game. You're not by surprise. So if you are interested in just getting a physical copy of the game for your system or for emulation system or whatever, you can pick up a cart for much cheaper than actually a real copy of the game if you're just interested in playing it on real hardware. So those cart prices range from $26 to $72, depending upon where you're buying it from, they're coming from North America versus Asia. So, if you want to play about the real thing, ooh boy, this is where it gets bad. So, I found examples of carts only being sold in North America. These prices include shipping. The price as usual for Super NES games varies wildly depending upon the condition of the cart. Some of the cheaper copies had obvious label damage, and or were beat up than the more pristine copies available in the cart. But these examples have sold anywhere from $213 to $500. So sorry, to $550 or $550 on eBay, and that's cart only. So yeah.
Yeah, and I saw some box only solds. That ranged from 300 to 500. So,
yes.
And I saw one complete listing that was like 420 or something like that, and then it was 1,000 was the next one I saw. So yeah, emulate this thing. Sorry,
I found two examples of this game being sold CIB. One example was with a beat up manual and game and a box sold for $500. The other example was a more pristine looking box and manual for $890. So, obtainable, but definitely the case of you opening up the wallet. Yeah. So, so like I said, emulation is the way to go. The physical repo card prices are not bad. You want to play it that way, but because I know some people prefer to play on real hardware, to play it on as much as possible. So, as least as an option. It's a shame that no Harvest Moon collections come out. But to be like before, the right situation for the right situation for the franchise is kind of messy these days. Yeah. So I don't think that's ever going to happen, unfortunately. So because the collection of the Harvest Moon games, I think, would be a lot of fun. Yeah, for sure. But anyway, thank you for indulging me with covering this game, Joe, and for giving me like a fair look.
Yeah, no problem.
So, but next time we're changing things up the podcast by going to a beat 'em up instead, which is much more like breezier, like a more quick and easy game. What do we do next time, Joe?
So it's Captain America and the Avengers.
So I've played Captain America arcade games, and I've never played the Super NES version though. So that'd be interesting.
Captain America and the Avengers for the Super Nintendo is spoiler, a port of the arcade game. So
yep. Yeah, I knew that much. So but never played it. So.
Yeah, so it's obviously a breezy episode.
I do remember liking the arcade game though, because it wasn't the best beat 'em up out there, but it was but the game was like sort of like a fun time.
Yeah. I mean, spoiler, but in the arcade you could add quarters to increase your health. So you could kind of cheese the game if you had enough quarters.
Interesting.
You can't do that in the Super Nintendo version. So yeah.
One of the first examples of pay to play, I guess.
So yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I think some of the Gauntlet games offer that ability too. To buy extra health. I have to look into that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because, but anyway, all right. So anyway, that's coming to you next time. Like, be ready for it. So, as always, we appreciate you listening. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, feel free to leave my Facebook page, or you can also send me an email if you want to at the SNES Podcast @yahoo.com. Joe, how can they reach you at?
You can find me on Twitter at JOESUX30. Also, I do the Radical Retro Roundup. You can just Google that and it shows the results, which is fantastic. And yeah, we just recently recorded an episode covering Knight Rider 2000, a TV movie that was supposed to reboot the Knight Rider franchise. Spoiler, it did not.
I remember watching that as a kid because because I was like a big Knight Rider fan as a kid, so of course I watched that.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. We ended up the episode is about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's the. Let me make sure that I remember this correctly because I said I only watched it once once a long time ago. That's the one where James Doohan is a coach.
Yes.
A cameo,
yes,
right?
And that was one of the things that we talked about in length when we were talking about it last night. So that's one of my.
That's not available to watch legally anywhere, right? You have to pirate it to watch it these days.
So if you can get your hands on the Knight Rider box set or the Knight Rider first season, the bonus disc for the first season has Knight Rider 2000.
Okay.
You can watch the entire thing in 10-minute chunks on YouTube. Someone did upload it. And yeah, if you want to go illegal routes, there is a gorgeous 4K conversion that some fan did. And
wow.
Yeah, I was shocked that someone went and took that much time
that
to
is
do
a labor
that.
of love.
Yeah. And let me tell you, so the thing with this TV movie, it's not filmed like regular, movies with a movie camera. These are taped onto a tape. It's not 8mm film or anything like that. It's like a VHS tape that they tape this thing. So quality wise, it doesn't hold up. But this guy went so into it with the 4K upscale and everything else. You could read, there's a point where they're thawing out the main bad guy and it shows his rap record. And with the 4K, you can actually see everything that he was arrested for and why he's there and how many years he's been frozen, which is fantastic. It's just little details like that I absolutely loved with that 4K upgrade. But yeah, you can find me on Facebook as well. I'm very public on Facebook. I don't hide anything, so you've been warned. Other than that,
I wish there was a Knight Rider game on Super NES that was to cover, but there isn't. There was an NES game that wasn't very good, unfortunately.
Yeah, there's an NES game that's not very good. There's
also two later two later PC/PlayStation games, which are actually like pretty good. I played those before. They're not bad.
Okay. The one actually George and I are going to record next month is we're doing Knight Rider special for the PC engine /TurboGrafx 16. So
I never heard of that one. Okay, that should be interesting.
Yeah, it got fan translated about 5 years ago, and I thought it was great that George was actually the one who suggested it. I was like, yeah, I've played that game. This is going to be awesome. So
yeah, I actually found out several years ago how popular Knight Rider was in Japan.
Yeah,
and it's like it was like, huh, that's weird, but
talking cars, man.
Yeah, it was
talking cars, transforming robots, giant robot mechs. Like Japan loves their stuff that's just way out there.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we're getting way off topic here. So, let's flex right up. Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Appreciate the plug. Sounds fun for sure. So, thank you again, everybody, for listening to us. As always, we appreciate the support. Stay safe. Be well. We'll catch you again next time. Later, all.
Bye.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man.
Now you're playing with power. Super power.